Hi, my name is Alexandra Judycki, and I chose to build a bench made out of skis for my activity analysis. The reason I chose this is because I felt like it had a lot of personal meaning to me, because I always identified as a competitive alpine ski racer and have kind of transitioned into more of a recreational alpine skier. I have lots of skis left over, as does my husband. So we kind of needed a place to, use our old skis. And I came up with the idea of making a bench. I have never made anything, before that I've been able to use, such as, a table or a chair, those kind of woodworking things. And so I really wanted to learn how to do this. I really enjoyed learning how to woodwork and to make a bench. First, I did some research online to kind of see where I should start. And then I collaborated with my husband and we kind of discussed on how we wanted the bench to look. And we went and kind of started to design it. More specifically, I designed it. And so I just kind of had a piece of paper and I measured the bench that we had as an example. And so I measured, the height, the width, the length of the bench, those kinds of things. And then I went and chose my wood at the hardware store. And from there, I had to measure out different wood pieces in order to make our bench, based off of the illustrations and dimensions that I had come up with in the first stage. It was very challenging at first because I do not have any woodworking experience or construction or, sawing experience. So that was a learning experience, but I was able to watch some videos online, and I was also able to watch my husband, do an example, and then I would kind of put it to use. So it was difficult. It took, many hours in the evening to complete my bench, but it is worth it. It will be exciting to have in the backyard. And I'm really excited that I chose a craft that I will be able to use in the future. And I'll have a great story to tell. The two most challenging steps that I encountered while making my bench would be, the first would be the measurements. I'm not strong in mathematics, and so, measuring out different wood pieces and then seeing if they would fit here, there, using, the 90-degree angle, those kinds of things were challenging, but exciting to learn. And then also learning how to use an electric saw correctly. I think I'm very fortunate because we do have electric saws now, so it doesn't take as much, upper extremity muscles, but it would kick back a lot, and so that was frustrating, and I just had to learn to be patient and to allow the saw to guide me and versus me guiding the saw. The final project of the craft has a lot of meaning to me. As I said earlier, it has meaning through who I identify as. I used to identify as an athlete, and I've definitely I've transitioned into just kind of a recreational athlete, but I love being outdoors. So the bench, represents my past. It also represents my present, and that it shows my skis that I used and that I competed on, but it also shows meaning in the sense of me enjoying the outdoors and the mountains, because you can't ski in in Florida because there's no mountains and the temperatures don't allow. And I would never, live in Florida unless, something came up that I had to. I chose to live in the mountains, and my husband and I share an understanding of the mountains and an appreciation for the mountains, and so our bench is going to be placed outside in our backyard around our fire pit. And so, I'm sure around the fire pit we will share stories from years to come about the skis that people are sitting on or that we're sitting on, and how we built this bench. The craft is a reflection of my social and cultural background because I was immersed in the culture of skiing at a very young age. I learned how to ski at 1.5 years old from my parents, and I spent my weekends with my family on the mountains. So, people would ask, oh, do you go to church? And I'd say, oh, actually, my church is the mountains. And so that was a cultural tradition of my family, and we would spend every single weekend in the winter skiing and sharing the love of the sport. Socially, a lot of my friends ski. I went to a high school specifically for alpine ski racing, so it could accommodate my international competitions. And so majority of my friends are skiers. And also I married my husband. His family actually runs and operates a small ski resort in northern New Mexico. And so I share that social appreciation for the mountains and the social background with my husband and the cultural background and tradition of skiing. Most of our friends living in a small ski town also ski, and so they can appreciate this bench because they'll understand the skis that are on there and the time that those skis have spent going down the mountains. The ideas that I have about my clients and how this activity could benefit them. I think woodworking is, extremely meaningful. It's a craft that you can build and use, which is really nice. I think my clients could, just like me, learn how to build something. It does not have to be, the equivalent of a bench. It could be as small as, a stool or a small little coffee table that's made out of squares, something very simple. I can heighten the activity where I could require wood pieces to have shapes. So my bench, I'm not quite there yet. My bench does not have specific shapes. We kind of stuck to the square route. But in order to, make an activity harder, I could have clients cut out shapes using the saw. I could also make the activity easier by having pre-cut wood pieces, and they could drill them, or I could have the bench already made and their activity could be just painting the bench. So there are a lot of different variations to this activity that I could use with clients. I just explained the activity, how I could activity up or activity down. So once again, I could, have them have to cut out shapes in the wood using the saw. I could have them add more, make the bench longer to make the activity harder, or I could make it easier by already having pre-cut wood pieces, or the bench could even already be together and their activity is just painting it. I hope you enjoy seeing me make my activity. I did it in time lapse, so I could kind of fit it all in because the craft took me numerous evenings. It took me over about 20 hours. It was much longer than anticipated, with having to let the stain dry. I made a few mistakes, errors, so all those kind of things, but I was able to do time lapse, so the video will be able to fit in. I hope you enjoy my